What's up, you guys? Jacob here, and I don't know about you, but I think we all used to like reading when we were younger, and then it just dropped off once we had like the middle school or high school summer reading list, and it just got super boring. Like once middle school and high school hit, it was more like you have to read all this stuff, and it was a lot more demanding, and it made reading not fun. Like I remember in elementary school, I used to read for fun all the time. I would like competition reading. I was one of those nerds that like me and my friends would compete, like who would finish this book first. And that eventually faded out just because I think we just became more casual readers. But then middle school and high school hit when we had to start reading stuff over the summer, and we had to start reading a lot more during the school year, where it just made reading not fun at all. And that's what happened to me, and I know probably 99% of you guys for the most part. And, I went from like reading all that to not reading anything from like middle school, high school, college, for the most part. It wasn't until 2020, like the pandemic, when everyone was at home and, couldn't really do much. And that was like the perfect time for me, because I was at the very end of my college career, but also at the very beginning of my like professional career, where I had a little bit more free time on my hands, and I started to pick up reading. A lot of free time. I was like, what do I do? And I looked over, saw Harry Potter as a book. That book, like the Harry Potter book, has been on my shelf since I was like 2 years old, like when I was super, super young. I don't know if it was 2 or whatever, but it was later, because I don't know when the books came out exactly, but it was on my bookshelf forever, and I just never read it. So I eventually read it, the first one, and then within 2-3 weeks later, I read basically the full series. So I went from like not reading or reading a lot when I was like, under the age of 10, not reading for like at least another decade, to reading a full series of books within 1 month. And it's a little childish and lame, Harry Potter, but it was really the catalyst for me to go from not reading at all to reading a lot. And I'm thankful for it now, because it really kicked up my like reading habit again, my reading behavior. So what went from reading Harry Potter, the full series, transferred and kind of spiraled at me into reading more, less fiction, because it's funny now, I don't really like reading fiction or fantasy or anything like that. But now I read a lot more, self-help, more fiction, non-fiction stuff, more like I said, just more self-help or like self-development, whatever title you want to put on that category. That's what I like reading more. And, I've read about 10 plus books in that category since then, over the past 3 years, which isn't a lot, but I kind of like to read this slower. But I've accumulated probably my top 5 favorite ones, and they're not in any order, but they are in a kind of vague order of, if you're not reading at all, I would read these, from first to last, just because I think it would help anyone that's not reading to read these in order. But if you are reading, especially if you're reading self-help books, I think you can kind of pick up whichever one you would want to, but this is just my advice on which ones I would probably read from beginning to, first to last, these 1 to 5, which ones I would read in that order. Now, like I said, these are the top 5 books, and for the most part, probably 2 or 3, maybe even 4 of them are probably widely spoken about, but hopefully there's probably 2 or 3 of them that you maybe not know. So that's my hope. If not, please stick around for my opinion, because I think it'll be just a different insight. Now, the first one, The War of Art with Steven Pressfield. This one's talking about a lot. I'm pretty sure a couple podcasts or celebrities talk about this one, but for them, it's just super, super easy. These are all like within like 2 or 3 page chapters. A lot of them are just like 1 page, or the longest chapter I think in here is like 4 or 5 pages. It's extremely easy to read, and for the most part, this book is all about battling resistance, basically procrastination. When you're sitting down and trying to write a paper, when you're trying to become the best writer, most people aren't going to even be writing, and that what makes you better. If you just can sit down and write, you're going to be better than 99% of the people, regardless of how good your writing is. And that's what this book is primarily about. Of course, there's a lot more details in there. Leave a comment down below if you want to add any details to any of these books. But for the most part, this book is just super easy to read. And for anyone that's not, an artist or in the creative field, I definitely would say don't be turned off by this title of this book. It's definitely not something to really be turned off about. Like, it's helped me with my fitness and like just school and everything. Like, it's helped me with everything outside of art and creative. I am a creative myself. I do graphic design and a little bit of video editing. Obviously, I'm on here, but I want to let that let you turn that off, or let it turn you off, the title. But yeah, definitely highly recommend for anyone new to reading, or just just wants a quick read here and there. The second book is the one that shaped me the most, and I got some coffee on it, so it's a little dirty. But it was like the one that really pivoted everything I was thinking about. And it's The Productivity Project, which is by Chris Bailey, which he has a few different productivity or self-help books, but this one independently. This is about when Chris Bailey, he spent basically a year not working, not doing anything, just to work on how productive can he be. And he basically he gave us like all his like advice on like what he learned and everything. And for the most part, it's relatively shorter chapters too. But the cool thing too, which I know two or three, I think a few of these other books just give tasks at the end of each chapter. So it kind of keeps you accountable, kind of like a coach and everything. So that's cool too. But the primary thing about this book is that it helps you learn about your time, attention, and energy and when to kind of manage that. Just for like a rough, easy example, like you don't want to be doing your toughest task when you're most tired, and you don't want to be doing laundry or like washing the dishes when you're like most energized and most focused. You want to like manage that in a good way, and it has you do different drills and different thing assessments to help you figure out when and how to do those certain tasks and schedule them. So definitely highly recommend this to just make you more productive in general. So yeah, definitely highly recommend this. This is probably this was the catalyst. I said the Harry Potter one was the catalyst, but this is like the big one that really took it big for me. The next one is the 4-Hour Workweek. Now, I have like a little contrary opinion. A lot of people say this is like the best one, and I do think it's probably the most prominent one, the one that everyone talks about. And I think it's probably like, people say it's probably like an A+, but in my opinion, I think it's like A-. I think it's slightly not as good as everyone else thinks. Just, I don't know. It didn't really resonate with me just as much as, a lot of other people. I don't mean to say that to turn other people off, or I don't mean to say that it's like overrated. Like I said, it's A- versus A+. I don't think it's, overrated, but I do think it wasn't the best for me. But it still was very good in my opinion. It basically highlights the whole life of, and at least what I took away of like being a digital nomad, the 2020s, like everyone talking about like internet money, how to make money on the internet, and like work from home and stuff like that. This is like what it is for the most part. I think it's, it helps you get into the mindset if you don't really know what that mindset's about, which I definitely think a lot of people just need to read, at least just to be exposed to it. So I definitely like it a lot in that sense, especially just with the day and age of more and more people doing online work. So definitely highly recommend. I think it's something that, won't, disappear just because everyone loves it. Everyone talks about it. The last thing I like about this book is Tim Ferris. All these other authors aren't super spoken, but him and these two other authors I think are like more outspoken on the internet at least, and Tim Ferris is one of them. And that's why I like him. He has like YouTube channel, Instagram channel, and everything like that. And he'll still talk about, his beliefs. He talks about everything he embodies in this book. So definitely highly recommend this book. Yeah. And then for the fourth one, this is kind of like the first shift, like the real shift, because these first three are kind of all about like taking steps. And there's a little bit of story, but it's not like a huge story. This fourth one is like almost like a biography. Or like kind of like a full story, which is Rich Dad Poor Dad. And regardless of your opinion on real estate, finance, personal finance, and all of that stuff, because I know there's a lot of different like strategies and methodologies and everything like that, I do think this is probably the best way to like start your personal finance or like business journey if you haven't read it or don't read it at all. It's like one of the easiest reads. I know it looks thick because it is pretty thick. But since it's like a story, it's a lot more engaging to keep reading. It's like, oh wow, like kind of what happens next. It's a lot more engaging that way. But it also gives you some tasks and like some stuff like to do like that. So it also kind of still serves the purpose as a self-help book. My opinion on it, or like just kind of like the general thing, is all about like assets versus liabilities. You want to be increasing your assets over like while you age versus increasing your liabilities. Like you don't want to be buying a bunch of cars. You want to be buying a bunch of houses to get recurring income. That's kind of like a simple, easy explanation, but yeah, I mean that's probably the easiest way to kind of explain it for the most part. But like I said, this is probably like it's really hard to explain. I explain it in a funny I explain it in a funny way to my friend, but this is kind of like the it's like the rookie card. It's like the key to starting your personal finance story. Like once you read this, you kind of like realize the full picture of everything. So I definitely recommend this book for anyone, in the self-help, kind of genre, or just anyone that's trying to get their personal finance like together at least. So yeah, definitely like this. Robert Kiyosaki, he has a pretty decent personal brand. He is like a billionaire now, or like super mega millionaire. So he's a little bit disconnected, but he's still like very, very prominent personal brand. So really good book, all I can say. Now lastly, this is probably my favorite one out of all of these. I think all of these do a good job telling you like how to work smart, how to do this, how to do work better. But this is the one that tells you how to work hard, like super hard. And I think the reason I put this last is because I think it's better to work smart before you work hard, just because I think that better, more natural flow of things. And that book is Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And just like Tim Ferriss, he has a very prominent personal brand. So I think it's cool to, like, you know, once you're done reading this book, or if you don't want to read this book, just follow him on Instagram or watch his podcast or something. Or he doesn't want to have a podcast, but, you know, watch the podcast he's on. And you're able to kind of like see what this book embodies, because he embodies exactly what he writes in this book. And I mean, this book is all about just how to master discipline, you know, self-awareness, getting, you know, stop being pumped up and motivated, start to actually just be disciplined in general. But it's about his life, kind of like Robert Kiyosaki, which with Rich Dad Poor Dad, but it's just a lot more crazy stories, and it's a lot for people just really in a difficult spot in life, or maybe don't understand the difficult spot in life and can see how possible it is. So I definitely recommend this book for anyone, you know, looking to defy the odds, quite literally. It's on the book. I don't know. It's just one of my favorite books. I remember like just sitting or laying down and like my blood pressure, just like, not blood pressure, but my heart rate just going up, just because this book will get you riled up. This book is crazy. It is like, I had times where I did not want to stop reading this, and I knew I needed to, because I like I said earlier, I like to read self-help books a little bit slower, or fiction or non-fiction books a little bit slower. So yeah, no, it was really good. I really enjoyed this. I know a lot of you guys will too.
Get out of your head and stay hard.
Definitely my favorite one. But yeah, like I said, all these books are kind of spoken about a lot for the most part. Ideally, I think not a lot of people may be talking about this one. I think this one's probably like a sleeper. But most of these other ones I think a lot of other people talk about. But like I said, these are my top 5. I definitely recommend these top 5 if you're new to reading self-help, or reading in general, self-help books especially, but also if you're in the self-help category, reading a lot and haven't read one of these. This is my opinion. Hopefully you read one of these. And if you want to add on to my opinions here on this video, please comment them down below and kind of give me your advice on what you think about these books, or books that you've read that has left you like a great impact on you, and hopefully it'll help someone else in the comments. But I'll probably get around to reading it as well. So yeah, definitely read that. And if you are new to reading, start small. Don't start huge. That's why I recommend this book. And don't get too obsessed. You don't want to waste too much time. But just be smart. That's all I can say. And that's what all these books are about. Just being more productive with your time, being smart. Now, hopefully that answered all your questions. Now, I'll probably do another update to this video, probably another year or two by the time I read a lot more of these books. But I'm not going to try to pump these out every like couple months. I'm not. This channel isn't really dedicated to me having like a whole reading thing. This is just me kind of documenting what I'm learning every day. It's not like a book YouTube or whatever that booktube. I think, I don't know, whatever the side of YouTube where it's all about books. This isn't really for that. This is more about just me being me. So hopefully here in another year or two I'll have updates to this video, or like a second update or second version of this video. But this is it for now. So yeah. If you like the comment, or if you like this video, please leave a like. If you want to, leave your opinion, comment down below. And if you want to see more of me, subscribe to this channel or follow me on Instagram, whatever, or both. That would be even cooler. Now, I'll see you when I see you. Peace out.